Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Yo.
Survivor Series coming up this weekend. We got 5 matches announced as of recording for us to sink our teeth into, to predict, to figure out where things are going. And let's start off with the explosion of the LWO. Carlito, Santos, Escobar.
Obviously, I liked that on SmackDown. Santos tried to win over his former lackeys, and they were like, "No, This is our family. You betrayed our family here. We don't want to work with you." I think they end up working with him. I think this is where I think Carlito gets the beating of his life. And he's received some serious beatings in the past. And it completely decimates the LWO. But yeah, I expect Santos Escobar to win this match.
Yeah, I agree. I think Santos is probably the victor here. Carlito doesn't need the win, and it makes more sense. You know, Santos is the star that you're making out of the LWO, right? You got Rey Mysterio, you got Carlito, neither of them are going to be your next big star. You got your tag team, which are, again, solid competitors in the ring, but they're not the ones having the singles matches on pay-per-views. Wild and Cruz are doing quite well for themselves, but, you know, they haven't even been involved in the tag title scene massively either. Zelina Vega did have her one big shot at the title, but since then sort of been floundering. Your star is Santos Escobar. That's your guy. That's your focus.
Yep. WWE has been looking and looking and looking for another Latino that they can market. Who's to say it's not Santos Escobar? I think it's Damian Priest, but Damian Priest is also a lot older, too.
You got a lot of options.
Yeah. Santos Escobar is a very talented worker. I like the look he has with the suits and stuff. I think I could easily see him maybe being the guy that chases whoever beats Logan Paul for the U.S. title. Because I don't see him beating Logan Paul because I don't see them facing off because of their alignments.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a corner at the moment for Santos, but I don't expect this LWO stuff to be, you know, entirely cleared up anytime soon. I do think it is a big storyline moving forward. Obviously, we don't know where the chips of Cruz and Wild are going to fall, or even Zelina. At the moment, the only chips we know are that Santos and Carlito are on opposite sides. Rey Mysterio, when he comes back, will presumably be taking the Carlito side of things. You have the vaguely associated Bad Bunny floating around as well, who will never be booed. And so you do have the makings of a feud for the next 3 months if it is what they want to end up doing.
Yeah. I honestly, I've been on I think LA Knight should face Logan Paul for the title at WrestleMania. I've seen a suggestion that has made me back off on that.
Okay. Don't make me back off.
Logan Paul probably retaining, but Logan Paul versus Bad Bunny.
Can I not have an LA Knight crowning moment instead?
Maybe you'll have his crowning moment with him winning the Rumble, and I will end up getting egg on my face.
Yeah, it's interesting because that United States title scene is kind of wrapped up in the LWO. We did just get the title off of Mysterio, but we are still playing up Logan Paul and Dominic Mysterio, potentially having a connection, which still connects us through to Rey. So there are still these tendrils floating out through the division, connecting these storylines together. And yeah, I don't know exactly what combination we're going to see. I don't know if Bad Bunny's free. I don't know if what WWE thinks the money match is around all of that, or how long we're going to stretch out this LWO feud. You know, they could shock me. They could do a one and done, just have Santos win here and go off on his own. Maybe his lackeys don't side with him, and we just have a heel Santos running over the mid card. In the meantime, I don't know. They could go 100 different ways right now because we are at that start. You know, that Genesis point was only a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then looking at another match whose Genesis point was only a couple months ago, The Miz Gunther Intercontinental Championship on the line. Two of the best Intercontinental Champions of all time. Gunther just been absolutely wrecking The Miz in the run-up.
Until Monday.
The switch flicked.
Yep. The Miz leveled Gunther on Monday night, which means he is not winning the title. I think this will be a phenomenal match. I think Gunther will barely survive it. Much as the same way he barely survived Chad Gable. I think it's going to be a match where it's like The Miz will have multiple moments where he will come within a hair of winning the Intercontinental Championship. But the end of the match, Gunther will finish him.
Yeah, I think it is getting closer and closer, as you say, right? The matches are just getting closer and closer, and soon his title reign will come to a conclusion. But the way that this piece has been built up with Gunther sort of verbally pooping on previous Intercontinental Champions, it makes sense for The Miz to be here. We did have the little hiccup with Ivar Ricochet, but ultimately that didn't matter to the storyline. This is, you know, a confident face Miz trying to prove to us that he is an amazing Intercontinental Champion. He's more than all of these ways that Gunther is describing him. You know, Gunther describes the worst of you, and then The Miz comes out and shows the best of him in the match. I could see it potentially ending in a head nod from Gunther. I think that's probably the level of acknowledgement anyone will get from him. But just as likely we could see what we saw with Chad Gable, which is just a Gunther clutching his title, glad that he managed to win. Because his days are numbered. The countdown is beginning. Can't hold on to this title forever.
No, especially if I want what I want to happen.
Look, we'll just have him lose the title at the Rumble, and then enter the Rumble and win. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah. Which would prevent him from overtaking The Miz in total days, by the way.
But yeah, the Intercontinental seems pretty good right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give The Miz a 10% chance.
All right.
I think they could do it. It's much less likely now since he did dominate Gunther on Monday, but there is a chance.
I'll give him a 1% chance. I got no faith in my boy. Talking about having no faith in my boy, Women's World Championship, Zoey Stark taking on our dominant champion, Rhea Ripley.
I'm still not sure why this match is happening, to be honest. Yeah, Rhea she's on another level. She is definitely achieving her version of God mode. She's greatness on a different level. And unfortunately for Zoey, she's not established enough to be in this spot.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rough one, right? It's very similar to Zelina Vega heading into Backlash, I think it was.
Or like a couple of years ago, when Satsuki faced Charlotte for the title.
Every so often we throw just like a
Charlotte. It was Rousey. When Satsuki faced Rousey last year at Survivor Series. Nobody in their right mind would have thought Satsuki had a chance. And unfortunately, that's the same case for Zoey here. All we can hope for is that Zoey puts on such a great show that she shows that she's worthy of a future push.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's hard for me to give Zoey a no hope here because last time I gave her a no hope was in the number one contendership match for this, and she ended up pulling it out in that one against all the odds, against all of the better feuds for Rhea. And so I'm gonna give her a shot because if I fully count her out, I'm gonna regret it. But yeah, there's better feuds on the table, I think, for Rhea Ripley, and moving forward through the Rumble, through WrestleMania, we'll start seeing those. You know, we've been saying Lynch Ripley for quite a while as our WrestleMania. I guess this is just our little stopgap to get there and showcase Zoey a little bit, similarly to how we showcased Zelina earlier.
Yeah. I think we all know the end game. It's Rhea versus Becky. So Becky will be distracted with the styly stuff that they're doing, and ultimately will be distracted by probably Nia Jax for the Rumble, which then will give us to the Elimination Chamber, which she'll probably have to win a 6-woman Elimination Chamber match to get to face Rhea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's like maybe one universe that Zoey Stark shocks the world and wins the title in, but it's not this universe.
I know it doesn't play a massive factor into it either, but I will note our February pay-per-view Elimination Chamber is in Australia, or our premium live event. So I do imagine we're going to have some sort of showcase for Rhea there. What that ends up being, we'll have to wait and see how that one all plays out, but I'm pretty confident Rhea will be heading into that one with her title still around her waist, or over her shoulder, however she wants to wear it. I'm not going to correct her. She can do whatever she wants.
Yeah, she could definitely kick your butt.
100%. But we are roughly halfway through the show, so we still got the men's Wargames match and the women's Wargames match to talk about on the other side of things, but we're going to go into our entrance theme this week, and Josh has picked Vince McMahon, or the Mr. McMahon character, and that theme is playing for you right about now. And you're back to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. Women's Wargames match. On one side, we have Damage Control, funnily named Damage Control, featuring Bayley and Io, who were on the team, a returning Kairi Sane, and a just previously defected Asuka. I'm sure Dakota Kai will be in the corner cheering for them loudly. But their odds are stacked against them as you look at the other side, and you've got Charlotte Flair, you got Becky Lynch, you got Bianca Belair, and also Shotzi.
Yeah. This is going to be a very, very good match. There's not a person in this match that is not extremely talented. You have the best, probably the 3 best women to ever come in the WWE from Japan on one side. You have Bayley, who arguably could be the best wrestler in the women's division because she has so many of the best matches with the other women. And then they're facing two other legs of the Horsemen women in Becky and Charlotte. And then you have Bianca, who's special. There's no other way to describe her. She is special.
Held the title for a real long time.
Yeah. And then you have Shotzi, who is talented, but doesn't have anywhere near the level of anybody else in the match.
She is a bit of an odd one out when you look at the 8 of them.
Yeah. I will say this. I do think the faces win.
All right.
And I think Bayley takes the fall. And I think this is the point at which is the ignition to jettison Bayley out of the group.
To be fair, the group has doubled in size in the last few weeks. Yeah, for me, there's so many elements here that make it, like, slightly hard. As you say, Bailey, obviously on the verge. We've all seen the eyes that everybody's given her. Asuka just joining the group, Kairi returning after being, storyline taken out by Bailey. Io Sky's been outshining her for months. Even Dakota Kai is giving her some bombastic side-eye. Her days are numbered when it comes to this group. And is that going to be the weak link? Dunno. Io Sky's been in every women's Wargames match. She's got the experience. She always puts on a great showing in them. Becky Lynch coming over from Raw to join up with the SmackDown women, as you say. Everybody wanting a shot at Sky's title. And it's so many bits and bobs. I think it'll either be Shotzi or Bailey with their backs on the end of the match on the canvas. And I may have to coin flip to choose between them.
I don't blame you on that. I just think for the storyline, it just fits more for Bailey to take the fall. But yeah, Shotzi may be in the match solely to take the fall. It just these 8 women are going to absolutely bring it. And we'll have to see where the chips fall. But yeah, Becky probably was the only person that could stand both Bianca and Charlotte. So it makes sense she would be it. It was interesting that it was Charlotte who got hold of Becky to join them, not Bianca. So that was interesting.
A lot of history there between all 3 of them as well.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a great match, and whichever team does win, it's just going to further elevate all their stories. And part of me wants to see Charlotte Flair and Sachi become a full-fledged team. I want to see them and Piper Niven and Chelsea Green going at it. I think it would just be hilarious to see the Karen that is Chelsea complain and stuff when you have Charlotte, the queen, on the other side. And anything that they do together would elevate Shotzi. So.
That's true. Yeah, I think Shotzi's going to be an absolute maniac in this match as well. There's going to be, when you look back at the highlight reel of this match, there's going to be a lot of Shotzi in it, I think.
My prediction, I think Kairi Sane does her insane elbow from the top of the cage.
Yeah.
At some point in the match. I think that's like my prediction. Because I remember Io jumping off of it before.
With a trash can over her head, if I recall.
I think she was holding a trash can.
Ah, there we go.
But yeah, and so I think I could see her standing at the top of it and doing her elbow.
Mm-hmm. Be an impressive visual.
Yeah.
And then our men's Wargames matchup. Let me just run through the talent in this match. On the heel side, you've got the Judgment Day, made up of their quote-unquote leader, Damian Priest, former world champion Finn Balor, current NXT North American champion Dominic Mysterio, as well as recently anointed to the group JD McDonough, and they are teaming up with Drew McIntyre, an angry and motivated Drew McIntyre, going up against the faces where we have the unstoppable Cody Rhodes, the world heavyweight champion Seth Rollins, the star with the jetpack on his back Jey Uso, the ever lovable Sami Zayn, and a certain Sneaky Snake.
Yeah, who was only announced to quell the inevitable CM Punk chance. Because I think it would have been only revealed when the match takes place.
Yeah.
Otherwise. But yeah, Randy Orton returning. Going to be phenomenal. I know one person that's not looking forward to it, and that's Jey Uso. And that makes a lot of sense. This match is definitely Jey Uso's horrors of the Usos past for him. Because you have people that he's screwed over repeatedly: Cody, Seth, Sammy, returning Randy Orton, and Drew McIntyre. And he is in a match where anything goes. Yeah, it's a situation where it's like you could see Jay being uneasy about a returning Randy Orton because he's the reason Orton was gone for so long.
Yeah, I think the Bloodline have been MVPs in terms of telling stories with their facials and telling stories in the background of shots, right? And you would have to be blind to miss Jey Uso's reaction to Randy Orton getting announced. I feel like that's there for a reason. What sort of storyline it's gonna play into the match, we'll have to see. For me, this is really hard to see where this is gonna go. The Judgment Day are gonna explode at some point. Randy Orton is gonna remember that he hates Jey Uso at some point. Drew McIntyre still wants to take his head off. I'm sure we'll see a nice big boot to the head. JD barely in the group. I don't know, man. You've thrown a bunch of firecrackers into a bucket and it's starting to smoke.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting match. I think it'll be a great match, but it's going to be interesting because it'll be interesting on seeing which storylines develop from here.
Similar to the women's in that aspect.
Yeah. Obviously, the World Championship makes things a lot more interesting. This is another pay-per-view where there's no World Championship match, which I thought Seth's title was supposed to fix. Turns out it didn't. And you mentioned something, and I hadn't even thought of it until you brought up the Bloodline. There's no Bloodline match.
Yeah.
There's not even a Bloodline person involved in this match, in this pay-per-view, since Jay's not part of the Bloodline anymore.
It's all going quiet.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing that I just thought of. I could see maybe a situation where the Judgment Day wins, and it's because Jimmy gets involved. But I could also see maybe Damian takes the fall here. And because I have a hard time believing Randy Orton's going to lose in his return match.
Yeah.
Although a match like this is one of the ways that you could protect that situation. Just not having him involved in it. He must be all right because this is a heck of a match to return in.
Putting your body on the line on day one.
Yeah. Yeah. So my official pick is going to be, I think the faces win. I think this is maybe the vehicle to jettison Damian on his own. And I could see maybe the lasting shot, Damian Priest getting a Claymore and Drew replacing Damian in the group and being the official leader.
I still think he's got to fight Rhea for that title.
Well, we all know that she's the puppet master.
Alrighty, well, we've got like 2 minutes left in the show, and I do just want to mention NXT this week. A lot of stuff happening, but the big thing for me, Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match. We saw Trick Williams get in last week. This week, Carmelo Hayes actually missing out in a match against Josh Briggs. There was a bit of a distraction by Lexis King, but you know, we're not going to see Carmelo Hayes in that Iron Survivor Challenge as of right now.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we won't see him during the match. I do think it's interesting that this is one of the elements that they're bringing Lexis King in. Having him work directly with Carmelo. Maybe the person that attacked Trick was Lexis.
Yeah. That's
a heck of a way to bring somebody in with. It would be something nobody would expect because everybody thinks it's Carmelo. Everybody and their mother thinks it's Carmelo that attacked Trick, including Trick. Probably. But maybe that's a surprise. Maybe there'll be some sort of like in a couple weeks, they found a camera that was on the scene, and it shows Lexis King laying Trick out.
It'll lead to Trick and Carmelo being on the same page looking for revenge. You know, Lexis would have screwed them both.
Yeah. Or maybe at the Iron Survivor Challenge, when it looks like Trick's about to win the match, Carmella Hayes comes out and drills him, takes him out, costs him the match. And it is, in fact, Carmella Hayes that did it.
Yeah, most likely outcome.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, Survivor Series Wargames coming up November 25th, 24th if you're in New Zealand. NXT Deadline coming up December 9th, 8th if you're in New Zealand. So we'll have to wait and see how those played out, because for this week, we are all out of time. It's been great talking to you.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D up, our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D up, our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling RND up. And we will see you next week.